It was fine, but then it didn't become fine after a period of time. Exactly. But
obviously the defense is going to say there was no intent to kill. So that gets rid of the homicide. They're even going to say potentially it was self-defense because the person was acting in such a manner, which is a complete defense. So it's the intricacies of the case which is in play. I'm assuming what we're talking about is the murder charge. There was a hung jury. What happened to the remaining charges we're unaware of. So it will be ultimately up to the prosecution whether they want to retry the case, whether they want to charge him with some different things and retry him. In California, there's basically, even with a hung jury, you could get another bite at the apple. If you're a prosecutor, you could charge him again. It's not indefinite. They can't keep retrying him if there's hung jury after hung jury. It's not indefinite. And a lot of the time, it really depends upon what the split is of the jury, what the prosecutor is going to do.
That's what I was going to ask you about, because if it's a hung jury, I mean, you've got three options: guilty, not guilty, hung jury, right? So, I mean, I've never sat in a jury pool, and so I've not been picked before. So I don't know whether or not there is a serious peer pressure to go to either guilty or not guilty, in there.
Yeah. It's one of the big things when we're choosing a jury, that we try to make sure that individuals are not going to be swayed by just the herd and that they're going to think for themselves. Right. We look for leaders in our jurors, and we want multiple leaders, people who will think for themselves, people who aren't weak-minded, who are just going to go with the masses. So of course, I mean, just like every human dynamic, and every human interaction with each other, we're always going to have a problem with this herd mentality.
So going back to that question, it seems to me, upon all research and everything I've been involved with over the past few decades, hung juries don't happen very often. So then it either is guilty or not guilty.
Well, hung juries are actually pretty common.
Oh, they are? Okay.
They're pretty common. In many cases, it's still a win for the defense.
Right.
How you look at it. Obviously, there are some cases where the defense feels that their case is so strong that it should have been a not guilty across the board. But it does burn one of the stages of a case where the prosecution can't do this indefinitely. And it is also a clear indication to the prosecution that at least one human being sees reasonable doubt in their case. And one human being seeing reasonable doubt in a case is an indication more can see reasonable doubt. Because many times the prosecution has this one-sided perspective of things, and they think the defense is just nuts. And then finally, there's these people out there that are, peers and normal individuals, and they believe the defense, and so therefore suddenly the prosecution goes, okay, it's what the defense is saying is potentially sellable, or it has some merit. And like what I was saying before about the apportionment of the jurors, if you've got 11 jurors saying not guilty and one juror saying guilty, that's a very strong indication to the prosecution they should not retry the case. Usually it's a mixed bag, 7-5, 6-6. But even then, when you get into those kind of situations where there's a mixed proportion like that, there's a mixed apportionment regarding guilt and not guilt, it's still the prosecution will usually move forward.
Wait a minute, you said they will move forward and retry?
Forward with the case.
Oh.
Most of the time they're going to move forward in felony cases. Misdemeanor cases, it's done, it's over.
Right.